Happy Friday, Notre Dame fans. Mike's here and Kyle Kelly live on the Blue and Gold YouTube channel talking some Notre Dame football recruiting on a Friday afternoon. Lots to discuss today. Notre Dame just continues their hot streak in the 2026 class. Like this, I've been covering Notre Dame for, 6 years, and I have not seen the Irish recruit at this level. It's got a while to go till signing day, but this is quite the promising 2026 class. We're going to dive into it with Kyle Kelly. Folks, please hit the thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content. If you're listening to this as a podcast, thank you for making us part of your day. Hope your drive or sitting at the cubicle or whatever you're doing. I hope we're making your day a little bit better. Please leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast. I'd be very appreciative, especially for those listening on Apple. Let's dive into it, Kyle. 2 new commitments for the Irish since our last show, with one of them being Tiki Hola, the 6'2.5", 300 pounds. So I was told 6'4", 300, and then I talked to some more people. He's 6'3". He's definitely 6'3". I don't know if he was maybe on his tippy toes when he's standing next to those offensive linemen, Sullivan, Garvin, and Tyler Merrill, and those guys, Kyle, but he's 6'3", 300 pounds. It's a perfect size for what Notre Dame wants him, to kind of be a versatile interior defensive lineman. And Kyle, on this same show last week, I think me and you were both maybe leaning SMU a day before his decision. You made the great observation that, hey, when these prospects say I'm just going to go where with God leads me, Notre Dame has won out on some of those. Kingston Viliamu, famously one of them. Tiki Hola now in that same boat. So he left a lot of people in suspense, us included, and definitely some people at Notre Dame included, but he did end up picking the Irish.
Did you see Hayes Fawcett's tweet when Hayes broke Tiki Hola's commitment?
I will look at it and pull it up right now. I did see it, but I don't remember what it said.
It'll be important to this conversation, so I'll let you fire it up here. But yeah, a week ago, I wasn't really sure what to think. But yep, do you see Tiki Hola's quote there?
They say choose hard, but I chose God.
Does that quote sound familiar at all to anyone?
This is like a Brian Windhorst thing. What is it, Kyle?
So last year when Madden Framo committed to Notre Dame, that was by far the biggest recruiting stunner and biggest breaking news that I've had to cover in my time on the Notre Dame beat. And I will never forget Marcus Freeman being up on that podium to announce that Framo signed with the Irish. By the way, complete Madden Framo way to announce his Notre Dame commitment is just to have Notre Dame's head coach go up there and announce it for him.
It's pretty
on the
badass.
podium. So, but when Freeman announced Framo's decision, he was, expanding on how it came together. And Freeman said that Framo told him that he didn't choose hard, he chose God. So I thought that was kind of unique.
That's pretty cool.
Taking a page out of Framo's book, announcing his commitment with Tiki Hola. Going back to how I started this conversation, I didn't know what to think last week. My gut feeling was Notre Dame just because of like I said last week, with anytime a recruit, well, not anytime, but most of the time it seems like at least the history has been pretty good for Notre Dame that when they say they're going to help have God guide them through their decision, it ends up working out in Notre Dame's favor. So big pickup for Notre Dame. This is one that I know the coaching staff fought exceptionally hard for. And part of the reason why I thought Notre Dame was, my gut told me that Notre Dame was going to get done just because Al Washington, Nick Sebastian, Notre Dame's defensive line coaching tandem, had the final in-home visit with Tiki Hola on on that Thursday.
Yeah.
So 2 days before Hola announced. So I think that closed the deal. Steve Wilfong did that. Hola didn't inform Washington or Sebastian or anyone from Notre Dame of a silent commitment that Thursday. And think it's our understanding that he only told the coaches like a few minutes before he announced. So
I'm
pretty
still
unique recruitment in this day and age.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that. It doesn't really matter when he told them, but it's something that I would like to know just from my curiosity. But I don't know. I don't know when he told them. I interviewed Tiki, and it was still unclear from 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 that. And I just listened back, and you can find the article of Blue and Gold, but the specifics of it, yeah, I'm honestly not sure. But it doesn't matter. But I can say that he left a lot of people up. Or he left a lot of people in suspense leading up to that decision. That I feel comfortable in saying. But yeah, this is a huge get for Notre Dame. Like this was Kyle. I'm gonna put this out on social media, but 12 of 16 Notre Dame commits pot of gold guys last year. So identifying early, staying on them, and these guys like good evaluation. Sometimes Notre Dame will fire out a pot of gold offer, and then by the end of their junior years, their junior football season, they're cooled on them already. It's like, maybe they didn't have the development that they would have wanted. They're this 2024 pot of gold day for the 26th class is paying dividends for the Irish, and Holo was someone that they offered early and they wanted.
Can I make a comment on that pot of gold day list? I'm gonna bring up the commitment list just to reference my thought here, but I think there's been some complaints with Notre Dame's recruiting strategy that offering high school sophomores is a little bit too late to ramp up that cycle's recruiting board. But even though Notre Dame offered, what'd you say, 12 out of 16 were pot of gold day guys, 12 of the 16 commits, Notre Dame still had recruited a lot of these guys even longer than pot of gold day. Tiki Hola, just for example, he visited for the 2023 season, regular season finale against Wake Forest. So Notre Dame had been on him since then. Tyler Merrill, Ben Nichols, Gregory Patrick. Those three guys all camped with Notre Dame in June, like 8 months before Pot of Gold Day. So they had been on their radar. Jonas Walton, he first reported his Notre Dame offer in January before Pot of Gold Day. Noah Grubs, his first Notre Dame offer was in June before Pot of Gold Day in March. I know Thomas Davis Jr. was on their radar. I don't remember if you recall this, Mike, but Thomas Davis Jr. was actually supposed to visit during the 23 season, but just never came together. So even though we say a lot of these guys are pot of gold day offers, and just overarching, pot of gold day is really important for Notre Dame, but I think it's still important to note that even though Notre Dame offered these guys in March of their sophomore year, which is later than probably most other programs, that Notre Dame is in on a lot of these other recruits earlier.
Yeah, for anyone saying you're offering a high school sophomore late, come on. Unless you're talking about the quarterback position, it's like, oh, this kid's about to commit, because quarterbacks are just a different timeline. Of course, the Irish have not offered a 27 quarterback, but yeah, if you that'll change soon. But
They're
if you're
out
saying,
there, Mike, with people saying that Notre Dame's coming in late.
not for high school sophomores again,
Believe
unless you're talking
I'll
about
tell you
quarterback.
after the show. So anyway,
Um, but there is, yeah, they get, yeah, they're in touch with this guys, and then several of them are, the Notre Dame staff will say you're a pot of gold offer like 4 or 5 months before they
exactly.
actually, like Jonas Walton announced it, yeah, before pot of gold. Like I'm sure, maybe he didn't get the message like, hey, post this on pot of gold day. Like that's just their thing. But some kids, we've even seen that. Yeah, we see it all the time. Like even in the 27 class, like a couple of weeks leading up to, it's like, all right, these, it's like March 1st or 2nd, the kids are posting about their Notre Dame offer and their 27 class, and like we know there's just some kind of breakdown in communication there. It's obviously not a big deal, but they're working on this well in advance. They're not dishing out 80 offers in like 80 phone calls in a single day. It's, hey, you got this, post it on this day. So, and it can be months in advance. Like old Bone Crusher in the 28 class, like he may have announced his offer well in advance of pot of gold, but that's a pot of gold kid. Like like Notre Dame has him for their pot of gold board. Same with Grubs. Like Grubs got his offer, I believe it was June of 23, or 22, 23. So he committed
23.
to Notre. Yeah, 23. And then I mean he was a pot of gold kid for like he was on their short list for quarterback offer. So yeah, I mean the Notre Dame staff identified who they wanted early and got them. So the 4 non-pot of gold kids: Ebenezer Watade, who Notre Dame offered in January; Aiden Pouncy, Notre Dame offered in was it December or January?
August.
August. Bubba Frazier, Notre Dame offered a few months ago, and Sullivan Garvin, Notre Dame offered in September. So that's that group. But otherwise, and then you look at the board for who's left. I mean, Akene Agboko, offensive tackle for North Carolina, he's a pot of gold kid. Mikhail Blade's a pot of gold kid, the defensive lineman from Chicago. Tank King, linebacker from Houston. That's another huge target for the Irish pot of gold kid. And I don't know if you guys have heard of a young man named Joey O'Brien from Pennsylvania, big time 2A athlete who Notre Dame badly once, battling Penn State and Oregon and Clemson for him. Pot of gold. That's actually when I logged my prediction for him. I think it's the day of or day after pot of gold day for him to eventually end up at Notre Dame. So
Elijah Golden, Caden Finley,
Braden Robinson. Yeah, all kids that I think that Notre Dame's either leading for or a top 2 school for. Like Elijah Golden, I'm going to see next week. It's Florida Bama, or excuse me, Notre Dame Bama. Caden Finley, Notre Dame Texas. Braden Robinson, Notre Dame Miami. And yeah, just cleaning up right now in the 26th cycle for the Irish. Kyle, before we move on, let's talk about Roback. I am rocking my Roback right now, wearing the Notre Dame Stadium polo, and I think I look damn good, in my humble opinion. And I look good too, rocking the Roback. You rock your Roback, you just look better. That's how it goes. Best fit and best feel, folks. If you're not familiar with Roback, they're completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Even if they didn't have this Notre Dame line, I'd recommend you go check out Roback. But for Fighting Irish fans who want like a neat, clean, it's going to last you a long time, polo or quarter zip. They even got the Notre Dame hoodie. Check out Roback.com. This stuff, I mean, especially if you're a golfer, you need to be rocking Roback. Like it's super comfortable. Like I'll wear this shirt all day today. But it also looks very nice, and it's worth every penny, especially when you use the promo code BlueGold20. It's good for 20% off if you're a new customer. RHOBACK.com. 20% off all performance polo, shorts, and more. And I'll mention that Roback has proudly been leading the NIL charge, like good NIL, not pay for play. Audric Estime, Kyle Hamilton, Michael Mayer, Riley Leonard, Ben Morrison among the Notre Dame guys in the past few years that have been sponsored by Roback. So check it out, roback.com. Use that promo code BlueGold20. Kyle, are you as high on this 26 class as I am right now? Like, I feel like I'm jaded. I've been covering Notre Dame for a while and college football recruiting for 12 years, and I just feel like fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 50 times, shame on me. Like I feel like I don't try to get bought into too much hype, especially with like Notre Dame and recruiting rankings. It's like, oh, they get all these commitments, and then a few will drop off and be in the top 5, and then they'll drop out of the top 10. But am I crazy for thinking this year's different? Like I legitimately think they could end up around. I've been saying 8. It might be higher, dude. It might be 6 or 7.
Could be, and I want to reference a comment you made earlier in the show that you don't really remember a time when Notre Dame recruiting was this hot. So I want to see kind of what you think here, because I remember when I first joined the beat in March of 22, I think it was. So that was the year before, of the 2023 class recruiting cycle. That's when they had Keon Keeley, Peyton Bowen, I know also Justin Rhett was in that class. They had a lot of top 100 commits, and they were, in good shape for a lot of others, whether it was like Jeremiah Love or Jason Moore, if you remember covering that recruitment, the highly touted defensive lineman from DeMatha Catholic who ended up signing with Ohio State. I just another one recruitment that kind of came out of nowhere that cycle few years ago. I don't know if you remember Richard Young, who was like a borderline 5-star running back out of Florida who didn't even have Notre Dame in his top 4. But Dylan McCullough went down to his high school and made a push for him, and he officially visited Notre Dame out of nowhere. So I just remember all those things culminating in a lot of buzz that time of year. That was also the same time when CJ Carr committed, Cam Williams, Jack Larson. They got really hot to start 2024. So I think that probably rivals what we're experiencing right now. And my complaint is going to be that things are really great right now. Notre Dame has had a lot of momentum, as I tell everyone on the recruiting trail. This has been a long time coming with, I think they have about a dozen commits, maybe 10 or 12 since March. All Notre Dame fans were just complaining nonstop about where's the recruiting momentum in February February and early March. And now I'm worried that we're going to get that again here this summer if Notre Dame doesn't get hot again in June. So just hoping we avoid that because Notre Dame's class is in pretty good shape right now. But unlike last June, Notre Dame's got to close this time around. They had a lot of swing and misses this time last year in the 25 class. They did try to circle back with a lot of those guys during the football season. Didn't get those guys in the fold. So, I mean, that's going to be the big storyline entering June is can Notre Dame finally get it done this year after, missing out on a lot of their top targets this time a year ago.
Who do you think is the more important target for the Irish?
Joey O'Brien.
So you think O'Brien
No.
over Finley?
No, it probably Finley, but
Did you hear my discussion with Tim about this the other night?
no, I knew the question was going to involve Joey O'Brien because he's probably been the biggest target on the Notre Dame recruiting board for months on end. Like even when you ask Notre Dame's commits, who are they recruiting the hardest? It's Joey O'Brien.
Yeah. Tim and I got into a bit of an argument about this on Wednesday night, and his point was, well, Notre Dame has signed so many blue chip receivers. It's like, I don't really give a shit if they're signing blue chip receivers.
Tim is
it's not
big
working.
on that. Tim and I got into an extended conversation about that one time over the phone.
But I don't care. It's not working. And so many of those guys have left. Braylon James, Rico Flores, and Merriweather. It's like, okay, signing blue chips, that's great. It's not working. Notre Dame has to keep going to the portal. So O'Brien might be the better pound for pound recruit. Of course, this is pretty much a meaningless conversation. It's a fun exercise because Notre Dame doesn't have to choose between the two. But for me, Finley is the most important player on the board because he's up there with the most talented, and it's such a key position to be. If Notre Dame doesn't land Joey O'Brien, how do you feel about Notre Dame defensive back? Like, how do you feel about the secondary and Notre Dame defensive back recruiting? Still pretty good. But you don't land Caden Finley? Come on.
You know what's funny about this conversation? Joey O'Brien can legit play wide receiver at the next level.
Yeah.
He's not going to, but he can. Teams would I think Notre Dame would take him as a wide receiver, but it's either him being like a good wide receiver or potentially elite Kyle Hamilton level safety. And
yeah,
we throw Kyle Hamilton's name around. We've thrown his name around for 3-4 years now on the next Kyle Hamilton. If you think we've thrown it around a lot, just imagine what Notre Dame has pitched to recruits, the safety recruits over the last several years. I mean, anytime I interview a safety recruit, especially when O'Leary was on the coaching staff, everyone mentioned Kyle Hamilton. Joey O'Brien is legit got the closest chance to becoming the second version of Kyle Hamilton. That dude is a freak. So,
Yeah.
love to see him. Love to see him at Notre Dame. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I think the Irish will get one of the two. It's not going to be easy, man. It's just tough when you battle those big-time in-state schools. Finley's Texas Legacy, Penn State for O'Brien, but Penn State's getting that official visit now. And I mean, is he going to go back there before announcing after this visit? Maybe. It's not too far from home. But Notre Dame getting that last OV. I don't buy Oregon. I really don't. I know what he said about Oregon after his visit, but I don't know.
They're sneaky good on the East Coast with getting some of those guys. I know they signed, remember Brandon Finney from last year, who Notre Dame was trying to recruit as a wide receiver, but he was a elite DB recruit. There was a lot of projections for him to end up at Penn State. He committed to Oregon. And then there were even more predictions that I think he was going to flip late in the cycle to Michigan or Penn State, but he ended up signing with Oregon. So
I hear what you're saying. That has nothing to do with this. Has no bearing on Joey.
No, I know. I was just mentioning that we've seen Oregon kind of go out that way, and I mean Oregon recruits nationally, just like Notre Dame. So
yeah.
But one more thought on O'Brien. We've heard that same sentiment coming out of a lot of his visits, that this team has taken the lead. This team has taken the lead, and
that's why I'm telling people not to worry about it.
And to be honest, I don't know if there's anyone that has a better pulse on that recruitment right now than Steve Wiltfong. So as long as his prediction stays on Notre Dame, Steve's that is, I think we should feel good about it. Steve has no issues changing those picks.
Maybe I wouldn't say that, Kyle, but instead of that, let's say if he changes it, then get worried. Like I don't know if I would say feel good about it right now or
right.
be super
better way
confident.
of saying it, yes.
Because the pick is on there, but if he changes it, then okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes
he's already changed his pick on Joey O'Brien. He had it on Penn State. Yeah, so
I'm not gonna lie, when he changed his from Penn State to Notre Dame after O'Brien's spring visit to Notre Dame, I was a little bit surprised.
Same here.
But I've had people ask me, Singer, when are you going to put in an O'Brien pick? Okay. I already did. It was like 14 months ago. Notre Dame also got Jonas Walton committed last week. Wanted to touch on this. This one was so interesting because, like, I thought he was I always thought he was a Notre Dame kid, and he loved his visits to Notre Dame. But man, Notre Dame really going to pull a kid out of Carrollton, Georgia? Like, are they really going to be able to do that? I got a little clip to talk about that, Kyle. All right. Hold on, give me a second to pull it up. I thought this was awesome. If I can just video. Nope, that's not what we want to do. Let's do this. Boom. Boom. All right.
University of Notre Dame. Jonas Walton fits Notre Dame. It just took him a couple visits to get up there, and he knew it's where he wanted to be. So, again, it doesn't matter where you are located. It doesn't matter where you go to school. Marcus Freeman and this staff, they're going to find you. And if you fit Notre Dame, there's a good chance you might end up there.
I don't know who that handsome man was talking, but I agree with him. It doesn't matter where you're at. This was like a reminder to all of us. Like whether it's a Chicago Catholic League kid, Cincinnati Catholic League, whatever, or you're in Texas or Georgia or Florida or California and Notre Dame's competing against in-state U. Dude, if you fit Notre Dame, you get up there for a visit, the Irish got a really good chance to land you. They just do. Like that. Jonas Walton's would have made sense. Alabama's very close to Jonas Walton. I'm guessing an hour and a half, 2 hours from where Jonas Walton lives. Florida's not very far. Tennessee's, kid from Carrollton, Georgia, with those offers. He's a big-time running back. You would assume he's going to end up in the SEC. Notre Dame. But yeah, when I talked to him for the first time in January after his junior day visit, I was like, I get it. I now understand why Dylan McCullough went down there all the time, and I understand why Notre Dame sources are absolutely buzzing about this kid because he fits it. He does. So Kyle, any thoughts on Walton? And then just wanted to touch on, what's next for the 26 class. I got that in the title. Receivers huge. They got the Texas wideouts. Brian Williams, we'll talk about in a little bit, from Florida. A couple offensive tackles, Grayson McHugh and Kenny Boko, Notre Dame looking to land one of those guys. Defensive line, big talking point. Interior guys they're really looking at moving forward. They got a couple DNs they could potentially land as well. Tank King, Talanoa Illy are the main linebackers on the board to know. I think Talanoa is trending USC, but I like where the Irish are at for Tank King. And then defensive back, Nick Reddish, Joey O'Brien, Donovan Webb is a new name Notre Dame offered this week or last week and set up an OV with him. Blue and Gold broke that news yesterday. So, 16 commits, you would assume they take somewhere around 10 more, and class is in a good spot.
We break all the news at Blue and Gold. I think we've been on a heater lately, maybe the last 6 weeks. But going back to just kind of your point on Walton coming from Carrollton, Georgia, I know we really expanded on this last week, but I just want to send this stat along. I was talking about this with Nathan Urbach, Notre Dame fan who does some Notre Dame coverage. He sent me these
promo for him. There you go.
Yeah,
you're welcome, Nate.
He sent me these stats. So this year, only 4 private school kids committed to Notre Dame. So one thing I'm going to do a deep dive on this one day, I promise. I've always wondered why Notre Dame doesn't have more success in the private and Catholic schools. As it turns out, it doesn't really matter a whole lot when Notre Dame has the number 4 class. And, what was the stat again? I think about a dozen of the kids are from public schools. Ironically, last year they had 16 private school kids committed and signed to Notre Dame. So a little bit of I don't know if it's change of philosophy or better luck or whatever it is. I think, heck, maybe it's even Notre Dame coming off this national championship. That's, intriguing kids and building some momentum. But I wanted to add one more thing about Jonas Walton because I remember interviewing him well before January of this past year. I think I interviewed him January of last year, like maybe 14, 15, 16 months ago, whatever it was. And I remember thinking there is no way this kid's going to leave the South. He had already been on like 20 unofficial visits, hadn't even got close to getting up north. And to this day, Notre Dame is the only school that he's visited in the northern part of the United States. So I thought there was no way they were going to land this kids. But Notre Dame gets it done. Complete Notre Dame kid, as you've mentioned a couple times. And we've both credited and shouted out Dylan McCullough for the job he did in this recruitment before going to the Raiders. And then Jaywan Sider was able to get it done. And one more fact about this duo that combining his name, Jonas Walton, with him in the fold now alongside Javian Osborne, Notre Dame has 2 top 10 running back commits. First time since 2007 they've had that. So I think in 2013 they had 2 top 100 running backs, top 100 overall players who were both running backs. But that was a loaded running back class. So I think Tyrion Fulton was that year or something. But he was, even though he was a top 100 overall player, he was the number 17 running back. So you had to go back even further to 2007. So this is truly a heck of a tandem. And gosh, I keep saying one more thought, but just one more final thought, because I put this in my 5 thoughts column when Jonas Walton committed, that Jaywan Sider does have a lot of experience balancing these high-powered, rushing attack with, highly touted recruits. He did it at Penn State with Katron Allen and Nick Singleton, who were both top 10 running backs a couple years ago. So Any worries about, the touches for Walton and Osborne? I wouldn't be. I think Sider will do a great job managing Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price this year, and then a couple years it'll be the same with Osborne and Walton.
Yeah, some of these kids that they're landing, I just don't think they land under Brian Kelly. On Thursday, I was down in Orlando and visited with some Notre Dame recruits. One of them being Aiden Pouncy, who I had not talked to in an on the record interview fashion before yesterday, and it was like a 14-minute interview, which is like 3 times longer than my interviews usually are. So I really wanted to dive into this with him. So Notre Dame had Jordan Pouncy, his oldest brother, committed, and they tried to get Ethan Pouncy in the 2020 class. Jordan was committed to Notre Dame, flipped to Texas, and then Jordan ended up transferring to Florida, and then Ethan ended up signing with Florida, and I think now he's finishing up his career at Georgia Southern, and second cousins of the Pouncy twins, who played in the NFL with my Dolphins and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Of course, those guys played at Florida. This just seemed like it's Florida, or he told me yesterday he grew up a Miami fan, which we've reported on at Blue and Gold. He loved Alabama growing up. LSU was after him heavy. LSU obviously has a great track record of defensive backs and putting them in the league. Pouncy told me when he got his offer from Notre Dame, he was not really feeling the Irish. How about this, Kyle? He said when he announced his top 10 in the winter, he said Notre Dame was probably the 10th school. He wasn't even really wanting, he would maybe not begrudgingly visited Notre Dame, but the sense, and you'll be able to find the story of Blue and Gold in the next few days when I spend some time writing it up. I want to do a good job on it. The sense was, all right, I'll go check it out. I don't think I'm going to end up there, but I'll go check it out. And Notre Dame just clicked. I'm telling you, there is, I think that Brian Kelly's staff would say, okay, I got a public school kid in Orlando who's not even really that interested in us. Let's just move on. Marcus Freeman's Notre Dame says, man, we've talked to this kid. We know this kid's family. We know he's going to fit here. We just need to get him on campus. That is the difference between Marcus Freeman's Notre Dame and Brian Kelly's Notre Dame, in my opinion. Marcus Freeman's, they're just not going to take that initial no as an answer. If they believe you fit Notre Dame, they're going to go after you. They're going to work their tails off to get you on campus. And Aiden Pouncy visited Notre Dame in March, loved it. Irish went from that 10th school in his top 10 to his top school. And it came down to Notre Dame and Michigan. And Notre Dame put Michigan in a locker and landed Aiden Pouncy. I mean, this is modern day Notre Dame recruiting. It might not be a Catholic school kid and in Chicago or Ohio or LA or Tampa or whatever. But Notre Dame's going to find the kids who fit Notre Dame academically and personality wise, and they're going to get you. That's a big reason why I'm so excited about where Notre Dame recruiting is right now, is because of just what we talked about. Aiden Pouncy is a great example of what Notre Dame is doing on the trail right now, just like Jadon Blair last year, just like Javian Osborne, Jonas Walton, kids from SEC country. Notre Dame's able to go and get them. Blair's not really from SEC country, but all those big-time schools in the South after you. And Marcus Freeman, just like what he's done with Notre Dame, it's changed the ceiling, it's changed what Notre Dame, who Notre Dame is able to land. It's been impressive.
I would say so. And is it time for me to bring up the story I did today? Because it kind of ties into
Go for it.
Your conversation. I was just brainstorming some of what to write about, and I remember someone bringing this stat up on the message board after Jonas Walton committed on Wednesday, just where Notre Dame's commits are coming from. And I thought it was pretty fascinating. I mean, I feel like it's kind of obvious to, hey, this Jonas Walton, he just committed from Georgia. Oh, they got a Georgia commit, and, they got a couple from, say, Florida. Oh, they got one here from Indiana or whatever, Ohio. But it's interesting to actually kind of break it down a little bit. And there's 4 states that Notre Dame has really leaned on to help build this, what is now the number 4 recruiting class in the nation. And we've talked about this quite a bit on this show, done some reporting on it, wrote about it a lot. But, I mean, to no surprise, North Carolina has been a big deal for Notre Dame. Notre Dame signed 6 kids out of there since Marcus Freeman joined the program. That's the most of any state. I think Illinois, they also have 6. Indiana, maybe they got 6 from there, and I think Ohio 6 as well. I mean, all those states make sense when if you know nothing about Notre Dame recruiting or Notre Dame football, and if you were to ask someone, well, where do most of the players on Notre Dame's roster come from, you would probably say Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio. That would be my guess. So that makes sense, but probably wouldn't say North Carolina, but that's the case. So with the 6 guys that they had already signed from the Tar Heel State, and then 3 guys they have this year, that's going to make 9 over the last 4 classes. So,
with more potentially in the boat.
Exactly, and that's what I wrote. They got 3 targets from North Carolina still out there with Akene Boko, Noah Clark, and Nick Reddish. Another state that is just as productive for Notre Dame is Texas. They've landed 6 guys out of there in the past. But Texas has a chance to become the foundation of Notre Dame's 26 class. They already got their 2 guys with Javian Osborne and Tiki Hola, but they have 6 other guys from Lone Star State on the board, 3 wide receivers and 3 defenders. One of those defensive guys being Donovan Webb, who you reported on this week. Florida, big deal for Notre Dame again. They got 3 guys out of there. And then Michigan is the other one I talked about. And you think about, Mike, I know you covered Rocco Spindler's recruitment, I think. I don't know if before Rocco, I think maybe like in 2002 or something, or there was another offensive lineman Notre Dame signed from Michigan. But, I mean, Notre Dame and Michigan, pretty comparable offensive line programs. Notre Dame probably is the edge in terms of NFL draft picks and, success at the next level. But I think in the college ranks, a lot of similarities. And I think a lot of Michigan offensive linemen would just go in-state, play for the Wolverines. Well, 3 Great Lakes State O-linemen heading to Notre Dame this cycle. So some interesting states there. I don't think Notre Dame has any commits from Indiana yet. I don't even know if they have any from Illinois. But 11 of the 16 commits, Notre Dame's 26 class, coming from either Florida, Texas, North Carolina, or Michigan.
Very interesting. Talk about one of those states, Kyle, Florida, because I was just down in the Sunshine State. Yeah, I talked about Pouncy, and then so I saw him after his school day wrapped up, and then I went over to Lake Mary High School, and great. Just Kyle, I know I've said this to you. You got to get these interviews before the game if you can do it. It's tricky on a game day. Coaches may not want a reporter going and talking to their star player before a game, but the game's kicked off at 7. At 5:20 or 5:30, I got to interview these kids. Noah Grubs, quarterback committed for the Irish. Same old there. Locked in with Notre Dame. It's going to officially visit Notre Dame. I think it's the June 13th weekend. He'll be there like a week prior for an extended visit to spend time with the staff and work with Gino and get on the board and all that stuff. So that'll be really good for Noah Grubs. And yeah, same old. And then in terms of the game, Kyle, here's why I just mentioned the interview before the game. They lost 37-3. At least that's the score of those when I left with like 2 or 3 minutes left to beat traffic. It was brutal. They got torched. Grubs. This is what I'll say about Grubs' performance. He looked good evading defenders because he had to do a lot of that. And that is something that we talk about Grubs. He can dice you up in the pocket, but can he, like, what is his mobility? He doesn't need to be fast. I don't care what Noah Grubbs' 40 time is, but can he escape? And like Tom Brady was slow as dirt. Peyton Manning slow as dirt, but those guys knew how to move around in the pocket and make defenders miss that are rushing him. Can Noah Grubbs do some of that? And he showed that. I was actually pretty impressed. I did not get the opportunity yet to clip that up, but maybe next week or on social media or in a video I do with Darren in a few days, I'll have that ready for you guys. But Noah Grubbs definitely made some plays with his legs, and that was nice to see. And yeah, Lake Mary, they have some young offensive linemen, and the team they were playing against, the First Academy, Kyle, it's like IMG Academy. That's what they're wanting to be. They're doing a ton of recruiting and that kind of thing. They had some loaded defensive linemen, so it was not a great matchup for Lake Mary, but I thought Grubbs played well. And then his receivers, Brian Williams, 6'4", 185 pounds, blue and gold. Shocker had the report first that he scheduled his official visits with Notre Dame, and you can find that story over at Blue and Gold, as well as this fantastic picture that I took of the young man. So Kentucky, Florida, Bama, some of the schools in the mix for Williams as well. He had a good night. The Grubs targeted him several times, cut a few passes, but I don't remember anything like over the top. It's just not a ton of time for Grubs to connect on a deep ball. But Williams, interesting. I think he had like 20 receptions for like 400 or 500 yards last year and a few touchdowns, and just more of a upside kid. 6'4", 185 pounds. He ran really well at an Under Armour camp in the off season, and you see him in person. He's just got all the potential in the world. So again, I'll get those clips out on him and Grubs in the near future, but I think the Notre Dame's got a good shot to land Brian Williams. His recruitment's just blown up like crazy. Again, Florida, Bama, Kentucky, Notre Dame, and he's at Penn State this weekend. So some of the schools to know for Brian Williams.
Really interesting recruitment, because I think he had, before his recruitment hit this like second tidal wave of blue blood programs offering him, I think his official visit schedule was like heading to Vanderbilt and Syracuse and maybe like some other random program that you wouldn't really think of. But now, it's turning into a competitive battle. Notre Dame's in it, which I kind of found pretty interesting, because earlier this week, another story I wrote at Blue and Gold was just a handful of guys that I'm still waiting on to see if they're going to schedule an official visit with Notre Dame, and I'm sure a lot of fans are too. So put those names together, and Brian Williams was on that list, because it was my understanding, maybe I was wrong on this, that OV wasn't really coming together, but obviously I was wrong on that. He's going to be on campus on June 20th. And did you talk to Grubs about this? Is he going to be on campus both weekends, both big weekends at all?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, they're going to have a lot of commits there, so that'll be pretty important. Those last 2 weekends. Those are the two primary ones, I think. June 20th and then June 13th. I know they got some guys coming in earlier, but
yeah, that's the primary.
Going to be here before you know it.
Yeah, if you're a recruit, you're officially visiting Notre Dame in June, and it's not one of those 2 weekends. Like, it's not the staff's preference. Like, they want you there for one of those two. At least that's kind of my read on it. But folks, please hit the thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to the Blue and Gold YouTube channel if you have not done so yet. Seriously, when you hit the thumbs up, I know I say it every single video that I've ever done. To do that, it just helps kind of get our videos pushed into the YouTube algorithm so we can reach more Notre Dame fans. So please do that. That is going to end today's show. Your boys here have some more work to do, so we can't sit on YouTube all day. So we got some articles to write. And I've got a 7-month-old baby tomorrow. Baby's turned 7 months, so I got to go hang out with my daughter and as well. So, and sometimes I can multitask. I can work and hang out with her. So I'm going to go do that. Really appreciate you guys for tuning in to this week's Notre Dame recruiting update. thank you for making us a part of your day. We'll catch you next time.